What's going on, y'all? You should already know, but if you don't know by now, it's your man, Mike DeLoach, coming back to you with some more content of a black man in New Mexico. So, let's get straight to it. Today, one of the things that we're going to talk about is why other people come to New Mexico. Now, before I made a video on why and how I ended up in New Mexico, so be sure to check that out. I'll make sure to leave the link at the end of the video. That was just me and my personal experiences. But, now I actually work in hospitality, so I get to see the different reasons to why other people travel here to New Mexico. So again, let's get into it. So, first and foremost, one reason that I realize some people come to New Mexico is family and friends. Of course, we all have family and friends located all throughout the nation, and that definitely gives us a reason to travel to go see those people, and that applies here as well. Some people were born and raised here, some people, went off to other places and moved on to other places, but they still come back here to see their family. This is still home for them, just as Georgia is home for me. Albuquerque or New Mexico is definitely still home for others. So, and again, friends. I talked about how my dear friend was the reason that I got here. And I've heard other stories too, as far as people moving here because of their friend. My, I guess, sister-in-law, her boyfriend, he he moved here because of his friend. So you hear those two stories time and time again, as far as common reasons that some people do come to New Mexico. Another thing is work. Work does bring people to New Mexico. Depends on whatever type of field that you're in. It could be military. You have Curtin Air Force Base here in Albuquerque. You have a few other Air Force bases through, the state of New Mexico. So beyond military, you have the sports teams, the New Mexico United, which is the soccer team. They seem to have a quick growth, but of course some of the players, I don't believe they're all local, but that brings people in. Even people coming to see the games, that brings people too. They have the arena football, and they play different teams in different states. Those people who are supporting the people that play on the other team, that brings them to New Mexico to come see the game. Again, working in hospitality, our hotel, as well as, Hotel Albuquerque, they host a lot of conferences, and so conferences bring a lot of people to New Mexico as well. And those conferences could very well be for their work. I've met a lot of, teachers, come in to do conferences, and there was a section of agriculture, and there was a sector of the government within agriculture, so you had basically a representative from each state, coming to New Mexico for this conference. Cell towers, they come here just to put up a tower, and once they get done doing their job, they go about their business. Met a guy that was working on the buses. So New Mexico just got the new art buses recently. These guys basically worked on the build of these buses, and you got Netflix. I think about the film industry. Film industry is growing, but you catch my drift. A little more, I guess, that entertainment side. Albuquerque hosts a lot of concerts, like big concerts. You have the Isleta Amphitheater. There's been some big names, and depending on your genre, you're a big name within whatever genre you may listen to. Could have potentially came to New Mexico, So I think about, for the hip hop, for example, Kevin Gates has been here, Big Crit, Lil Wayne, Young Jeezy, Rich Homie Quan, Wiz Khalifa. I think J. Cole has been out here before. You got names like Bone Thugs and Harmony, Devin the Dude, Color Me Bad, Naughty by Nature, Santana, You got groups like Iron Maiden, you know, and a number of other groups. And I'm sure there's been a lot of Mexican artists that has come to, that play like the mariachi and, just within that genre. I'm sure there's been big concerts like that too. I'm just not too familiar with those names. And but even country singers too. There's been some country singers come out here too, But concerts, and you got to think. I talk about New Mexico being that in the Four Corners, So it's, I won't say a central location, but within, outside of New Mexico, just surrounding Albuquerque in the state of New Mexico, again, you have Phoenix, Vegas, Denver, Oklahoma City, like Dallas and San Antonio, El Paso, So again, whenever those artists are traveling from the east to the west coast, even getting to California, or even getting to Phoenix, or getting to Vegas, sometimes they may have to pass through Albuquerque. Granted, Albuquerque may not be that big city name that people look for, but still you have people who, let's say this artist may be doing a show in Albuquerque, but may not be doing one in Phoenix on this tour. Granted, that's probably highly unlikely, but let's just say they're not doing a show in Phoenix or whatever, and so you may get a lot of people from Arizona to come to Albuquerque. Or let's just say you missed the one that was in Dallas. You had to work that day that that artist was performing in Dallas, but you're able to get off and go to Albuquerque to catch the show. So again, that those concerts definitely bring in other people too. So I think about comedy shows. Comedy shows were starting to become a big thing. Here it is. Again, you have Netflix, who is now set up shop here in Albuquerque. Now they were starting to bring in, comedians on a consistent basis. And where those comedians will perform, they will perform at, the casinos. Kevin Hart, he performed at 66, I believe. What's that guy from Seinfeld? Was it like Jerry something? I think he's been out here or whatever. Joe Coy, he's come out here. The Asian guy in The Hangover, like, I feel bad for not knowing, their names or his name or whatever, but, the little Asian guy that was in The Hangover that, worked as a doctor, but, he's come out here. But I feel like they're trying to give it, again, when Netflix got their hands into it, I feel like they're trying to give it more of that Vegas feel, not only, can you go see, a show or performance, at the same time, you can gamble, drink, have a good time. So I definitely believe they're trying to start giving it that vibe. But again, if these artists are only performing at select locations, or if you were to miss a show or something like that, it definitely gives people a reason to come to New Mexico and to still have that same experience, But outside of, I guess the industry, we had the Senior Olympics, and with the Senior Olympics, that's hosted it's either every 2 or every 4 years, something like that. I think it's every 2, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, it's the Senior Olympics, so they have basically a range of every event, whatever that case may be, and so you got up to 10 to 20,000 different participants, because they still have the different age ranges too. So you got all of these different events within a couple different age ranges, So, I know it was over a week, up to about 2 weeks as far as that Senior Olympics, because they have to have their eliminating phases and whatnot to lead up to, the championships or whatnot. But here it is, 20,000 people, and everybody's bringing a spouse. That's at least 40,000 people. Some people bringing their kids. So yeah, they're here to, participate in this special event. But at the same time, while they're here, especially if they're one of those people that's going into, basically progressing in each, match or whatever the case may be, and getting to the stages of getting to that championship and, like, the semifinals and whatnot. So they're gonna be here for a while. And so here it is. They're going to want to try to find things to do in the downtime of not, participating. So that definitely brought a lot of people here for the first time. Some have been before, but that definitely brought in some people too. And so one of the other things too that brings people is the powwow. On my video Culture Shock, I talk about basically almost believing that Native Americans was non-existent. But here it is in Albuquerque. They host a powwow, every year. And that's in April. That brings in the influx of Native Americans from nationwide. You get Native Americans from Oklahoma or South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Michigan, Idaho, Utah, California, it's Arizona. And so it shows you that, dang, like here it was, I believe it was non-existent at one point. That, theory was debunked, you know what I mean? And now here it is, seeing just the number that I'm seeing, and that's for one, a shock and like within itself. But to know, there's more, and there are still Native Americans that spread out, so when they do all come together, you see there's still, again, a lot of Native Americans in numbers, that's well and alive, But the powwow is definitely one of the big events too that get a lot of people to come in, and, people, again, they have downtime outside of whatever event they may be participating in the powwow. So these people are going to go to restaurants, they're going to go, out and, maybe have a drink or so, but they're going to have, they're going to enjoy themselves while they're here, So, and another big event is the Balloon Fiesta. Now, the powwow is a big event within itself, Granted, that's just within, I won't even say a specific culture, because you still have people who of other culture other than Native culture that comes to New Mexico just to see the powwow. You know what I'm saying? Almost like they want to see all of these Native people together. You know what I mean? If you catch my drift. But anyway, some people come just to see that. But you have even more that comes to the Balloon Fiesta. And so me, growing up in Georgia, one of the bigger events that I seen coming up, personally, was like the St. Patrick's Day. I know back in the day in Atlanta they had the Freaknik, but it really went popping, when before I left from Georgia, you know what I mean? But St. Patrick's Day was probably the next, I ain't gonna say the next biggest thing because I don't know which one was bigger, but St. Patrick's Day is that big event that you get people from, nationwide and most likely worldwide. I never got a chance to speak with people from other countries or whatever in Savannah, but again, working hospitality here, I meet people worldwide that comes to the Balloon Fiesta here in the States. And I'm going to have to Google, kind of do some research and see which event is a big event, because, this year, granted, COVID is going on. Unfortunately, the Balloon Fiesta was canceled this year. I was watching the news, and they were saying that, the state lost, millions of dollars because of the Balloon Fiesta was canceled. Because, yeah, people are coming to see the balloons and whatnot. Like, again, in the downtime, they're going to still be spending money, The Balloon Fiesta itself, too, is like almost like its own fair. You know what I mean? And so you got vendors and different stuff like that out there. You got people who are paying to do these balloon rides. You got people who are putting money into these custom hot air balloon designs, and that's something to see too, just the different custom hot air balloons and how they have some cartoon characters and things like that, so they make it very very appealing, But again, people pay to come to see this, you know what I mean? One of the reasons too, I think this is, I'm not going to say the only place that this is an event like this is held with balloons, but it's definitely probably the biggest here in the States, you know what I mean? And there's a reason for that too. I'm going to have to get the logistics or whatever, but it says something about, Albuquerque, and there's basically being like a pocket or a certain box that the hot air balloon can travel within, when on Culture Shock too, I talk about, Albuquerque being a bowl, and so you got to think about that. So within this bowl, You know, and it's how that balloon is basically within a box, within that bowl that it travels, you know, and so it basically, I guess it catches the wind, you know, at a certain level or a certain temperature. If I'm not mistaken, it has to be a certain temperature, you know, so the air has to be just right for somebody to go up, and usually they go up early in the morning, you know, because it's still cool and you're pumping that heat, you know what I mean, but at the same time you don't want your balloon to burn out or whatever, so it's a certain temperature as far as in a certain box in a certain pocket that these hot air balloons can catch here in Albuquerque, you know, so that's definitely one of the unique things about Albuquerque and why a lot of people come and why that event is held here, you know. So, but and I guess another thing too, unique I guess about Albuquerque is the Albuquerque Old Town. You know, some places have their, historic areas. Savannah, mentioning Savannah, St. Patrick's Day. If you think about Savannah in the Civil War, Savannah is definitely a historical area. So a lot of people, like to get the history behind their visit. Same thing coming to New Mexico. You know, a lot of people like to go see the Old Town Albuquerque, and they like to know the history behind it. They like to go and see the big cathedral, the big church, that they have there in the Old Town that was built in like, I think the 1700s or something like that, and it's still there to this day. So it gives you, it's reminiscent to, that Western feel. Granted, nowadays a lot of things being modernized, but even in the Old Town, it gives you a little bit of that, again, that Western feel. And they have a few different tours that you can take even within the Old Town as well. They have like a ghost tour. They have like a Breaking Bad tour. They have like a trolley tour that you can take of Albuquerque. So you have things like that you can experience within the Old Town. That my hotel in particular is located in the Old Town area. So usually in the summertime when you got the kids are out for the summer, so you want to take a vacation, and explore. And speaking of kids, also within the Old Town area, you got the art museum, you got the science museum, you got the Explorer Museum, you got the botanical gardens, you got the aquarium, so you got all of those things that's within that vicinity, and a lot of people always ask, hey, how far are you from the Old Town? Because of course they've done their research. They realize, okay, while we're here for X amount of time, we could potentially try to do this, and this, especially if they're all right there within the same area. So, that's definitely one of those key factors, that kind of makes it or break it for some people. They want to make sure they're within that Old Town area, so they can experience these certain things, whether it's a tour or going to the museums, or it's going to the aquarium, whatever the case may be. Another thing too people talk about is that Albuquerque is more like a safe haven. It's another word, like a sanctum, or it's a term that they use, you know what I mean? But basically, if you are in like another state and become homeless or something, like they may buy you a Greyhound ticket to come to Albuquerque, you know what I'm saying, and try to put you into certain programs or whatnot, and get you back going on your feet or whatever, get you moving back in society or something, you know what I mean? So, outside of that, it does have a nice outdoor scene. You got the mountains, and so one of the things is the Sandia Peak, the Sandia Tram. So they have like I said, basically the cord. I forget what's the proper term to use, but you basically take the tram. You start at a certain point, and you take the tram, and it basically takes you up the mountain. I think it's probably about 25-30 minutes to get up to the top of the mountain, but you can take the tram going up to the top of Sandia, the peak of Sandia, and you can see, again, it's open air, so you can see down throughout the city and see all of Albuquerque and see all the way out past the west side, and so that's definitely one of the reasons why people come, and in the mountain areas, like Sandia and like in Taos or Angel Fire, they have like ski resorts, you know, and a lot of people when it does get cold and when it does snow, you know, a lot of people like to go ski, like to go snowboard, you know, and again, you may have people from other areas who may want to experience that, for one, because they don't get snow in their area, or you know, two, you know, they could be that, I don't want to say extremist personality, but could be that person who are into like those extreme sports, you know, like motocross or ATV, or you know, like I said, snowboarding, skiing. You may have that, you know, type of personality that wants to experience that, and this may be a close place for them. Or you know, some people sometimes again are extremists, so it's like, okay, once I climb this mountain, I want to climb that mountain, or like, you know, I've skied that slope. So, you know, they may compare slopes and they may want to come and ski this slope compared to that slope. You know what I mean? So, but you know, that definitely brings some people to the area as well that may not get that in their area, but it's something that they want to experience, or it could be something that's on, you know, their bucket list, you know, and I think that brings a lot of people kind of through New Mexico as well, just touching on the bucket list. Some people, you know, have the mindset that, you know, we're going to visit all 50 states. You know, I've met some couples who, you know, kind of took pride in that. You know, it's like, you know, New Mexico was one of those states that we just haven't been to yet, and, you know, we trying to hit all 50. So this was the year that, you know, we came to New Mexico. You know, so again, working in hospitality, you start to see a lot of different reasons to why, you know, people come to New Mexico. It could be back to tours. It could be people doing the Route 66 tour. You know, a lot of people start that trip in Chicago, and they drive from Chicago and drive all the way to Santa Monica, California. And you have different types of, I won't say different types of people, but yeah, I guess, but you have people, well, this is how I want to say, you have people doing it different. You know, some people may be on a tour bus or a coach bus within a certain tour. They riding on this coach bus, and so they ain't gotta worry about the driving. You know, pretty much they just gotta, you know, pay for, you know, the basically the trip, a one-time thing for the most part, because you know that may cover your seat on the bus and the hotels everywhere that y'all plan on stopping. You know what I mean? But meanwhile, you know, of course you may have to budget for food and whatnot, you know, whenever you get to each location. But again, they don't have to do all the driving. They can just take this coach bus and just cruise along and kind of just look out the window and, you know, see all these places. Because, you know, when it's driving, it's really hard to kind of sightsee if you're the one behind the wheel. And the longer you stop, you know, the longer it takes. So why not do it in a tour where it's going to take you, you know, a week or so, when again, you don't feel like you have to rush. You can take your time. You kind of got that itinerary where you know you're going to be at these certain places, so you're kind of able to plan a little better, you know. But then again, like I said, you have people do it different ways. You have some people who are into, you know, the motorcycles and the biking. So you have some people who may be taking that same trip, but they're on their motorcycle, you know what I mean? And they just want to take their bike cross country, but still at the same time do that Route 66 tour. You know, and you know, we've had other tours that passed through that, you know, starting in New York, and we're traveling to California, so basically still taking that cross country trip, you know. And you know, they may hit some hot spots, and you know, Albuquerque may just have been that one place in the line of travel that they had to go to, but still they may spend a day or two in Albuquerque. Again, they may go check out the Old Town area or something like that, you know what I mean? And after Albuquerque, they may be headed towards Arizona, you know, see the Grand Canyon, you know, and then basically, you know, kind of keep it pushing, you know what I mean? But, so, I mean, sometimes a lot of people are just passing through, just basically going to one destination to the next, and sometimes it's just a night over, you know, they're really not there to experience too much. They just, you know, need a place to rest for the night, and Albuquerque just so happened to be, you know, the stopping point, you know. I've heard that some people come here to train, you know, depending on whatever sport they may be into. I think about when MMA and UFC first got started. You know, I hear that this was a place where a lot of guys would come train just due to the elevation. you know. And two, like there's a lot of bike trails, and a lot of people do train for cycling too, you know, because you got so many hills and, you know, where you're going uphill, some, you know, in a lot of places, and so definitely helps, you know, work those legs and whatnot, you know. But I say all of that to say this, you know, to those who, for one, to those who are new, you know, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, you know. But to those who have never been to New Mexico, you know, hopefully some of these things, you know, was something that was, you know, enticing to get you to want to come to New Mexico if you've never been and you've been thinking about it. Or again, if you're one of those people where it's kind of, you got a bucket list and, you know, there's something you want to do, whether it be, you know, snowboarding or going to see the Sandia Peak and taking the tram, you know, or, you know, it's just one of those places that, you know, we go hit all 50 states, and why not stop in Albuquerque when we go through, you know, that state, you know what I mean? But hopefully, again, these things may be reason for you to come if you haven't been, you know. People are friendly here, you know what I mean? It's a nice vibe, you know what I mean? If you never thought about New Mexico, you never, you know, it's like, New Mexico? Like, what's in New Mexico, you know? You know, hopefully one of these things may change your mind about coming to New Mexico and exploring it. You know, it's always good to see something different, you know, to get out of your comfort zone and get out of your box, you know, and see something new. See how you like it in the land of enchantment. But again, this is your man, Mike Deloach, coming back to you with some more content of a black man in New Mexico. Again, you know, thank you for checking out the video. This was my take on why other people come to New Mexico. So like the video, you know, comment, you know, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, share the video, you know, share it to somebody, you know, and chime in the comments, you know, so we can get, you know, see what people have to say and see if there's been other people who've been to the area and experienced some of these things, and maybe they can tell you their thoughts on, you know, the Ghost Tour or the Balloon Fiesta or whatever the case may be, you know. So until next time, it's your man Mike Deloach, and oh yeah, if you want to get involved, be sure to email me at ablackmaninNewMexico@gmail.com. New Mexico is abbreviated with the NM, so I'll be sure to leave that below so you know exactly where you gotta go. But until next time, we'll holler back. If you make it in life, just promise me you give back. Everybody ain't got it, some don't get it like that. They say it's not where you're from, it's wherever you're at. No matter how far I go, I can't help but look back. So if you make it in life, just promise me you give back. Everybody ain't got it, some don't get it like that. They say it's not where you're from, it's wherever you're at.